show, everybody. It's Friday, April 23rd, 2021. Today, we'll be diving into the NFL's number rule change and is Roger Goodell invincible after getting vaccinated?
Happy Friday, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the show.
There goes that man's jock strap. Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports. There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
All right. Happy Friday, everyone. How's it going today?
It is going wonderful, dude. It's a beautiful day outside. It's Friday, about to get the weekend started here. Hoping to get out and shoot a couple rounds of golf potentially this weekend. So really looking forward to that. How about yourself? How's it going over there?
Just great. Like you said, it's going to be finally some good weather. Yesterday was nice. I don't know if I get on the course this weekend, but try to get out and enjoy the weather in some way for sure.
Yeah, so let's dive into it right away here. The NFL has decided to allow the number rule change, so everybody besides the offensive line and defensive line is basically able to change their number to whatever they want. What do you kind of think, early thoughts about the new rule change?
I mean, I really like it. I think it's definitely a cool something that really should have been implemented years ago. I know back in like the earlier 2000s, Reggie Bush tried to wear number 5 because that's what he wore at USC and stuff like that. So, and then the NFL shut it down. I know there's been a couple other players throughout the years who have tried to kind of hug the fine line of that rule, and it never works out for him. But yeah, it's kind of cool to see them opening up that number change. It allows maybe guys to get numbers that they weren't allowed to get before, as far as somebody coming in maybe out of college where they always were number 53. Well, now with people switching their numbers and having really double the amount of numbers they can do, maybe if they want 53 they can get it, or if they want 5, or if they want 3, they can go get those 2 numbers as well. So yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a good overall, it's a good feedback from players and just fans of the game, seeing them come up with this rule change.
Yeah, I like it as well. Just a couple things that I don't like. One, why are the offensive and defensive line excluded from this? They should definitely be able to wear whichever number that they want to, because every single time on the play where you have a guy, an extra guy who's in there who's an eligible receiver, the ref will buzz that in before the play. So everybody will still know who's eligible and who's not eligible to go out there for a pass. So I don't think that would really cause any issues. So I don't see why linemen are restricted from this, because I know like Myles Garrett, didn't he wear number 5 in college? It's like he could go back, or Jadeveon Clowney that wore number 5, I believe. He could go back to number 5. Like there's a lot of guys who do rock those single digit numbers, so it's going to be interesting to see who actually is going to get the number. Is it going to go off vet? Is it going to go off who's going to pay the most money for the jersey? All that type of stuff. And then the other thing was, it's kind of shitty that the NFL is making all the players buy out all their old jerseys if they do decide to change numbers. I feel like the NFL should just hold on to those and make the price of those jerseys rise up even higher. But yeah, so now players, if they want to change, they'll have a lot of old memorabilia.
Yeah, like you said, there's a couple things weird about it, and it kind of sucks that if players are going to be having to buy out their old numbers and stuff like that. And actually, one person who weighed in on the whole thing, probably one of the biggest voices in the NFL, Tom Brady, he showed some disinterest in kind of the new rule change, saying it's going to be messing up guys in their blocking and with like changing numbers and stuff like that, which I can kind of see that. But at the same time, with him being one of the oldest guys in the NFL right now, if not the oldest since Vinatieri left, I can kind of see how he's kind of still in that late 90s, early 2000s mindset of the NFL. So it kind of makes sense for, I guess, someone like him to come out and be disinterested with it. But overall, I don't know. I don't really see anything wrong with it.
I just think the main thing that he's probably pissed about is He's done all the studying of the game for how long guys have had these numbers for so long. He's got all that ingrained, and now people are going to switch all these numbers. It's going to change all these audible calls. It's going to change so many different things with being a game manager of people switching numbers. So I could really see how that could be irritating, especially he's gone his whole career with it, and then now they're going to change. You know what I mean? I think it's an awesome thing, but I can see some frustration with some of the older guys in the league for that fact of just having to adjust.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus thinking about him as a quarterback, if he's used to throwing to 20s and 30s for 20s, 30s, 40s for running backs and teens and 80s for receivers, and now he has to adjust break that muscle memory of looking for those numbers, and now throwing to single digit guys, like after you've been in the league for 20 years, I'm sure that that's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for him to kind of get used to throwing to different numbers that he's not used to seeing. So
yeah. Do you think he's going to change his number now, either to 1 because he's the GOAT, or is he going to change it to 8 because that's what ring he's chasing?
I don't know. I mean, I'd like for him to stay at 12 just because just in every sports conversation, you see those who's the greatest number 1 of all time, number 2, number 3, number 4, and obviously Tom Brady, the number 12 jersey belongs to him as far as being the greatest person to ever wear that. Obviously, once he retires, Aaron Rodgers will have a lot of catching up to do to try to throw his name into that equation, even though I definitely put him at number 2 for that number. Otherwise, like Roger Staubach or something, even like that, which he's older quarterback, um, but yeah, I mean, I think he should definitely stick with it, especially the way he seems displeased with the number change. I don't think after he came out and said he doesn't like it, I don't see him changing it, because then it's like, okay, you were just shitting on it a couple of weeks ago and now you changed it. Like, what's going on? So
yeah. And then you said Aaron Rodgers. Sticking with Aaron Rodgers, there are recent rumors that the 49ers have moved up to the 3 spot to potentially get something good enough to offer the Packers for a trade for Aaron Rodgers. Do you think this is complete bullshit, or do you think this actually could have some weight behind it?
I mean, of all the other 31 teams in the NFL aside from the Packers, the 49ers are the one I'd be the most concerned about for a trade ever happening, that Rodgers would leave Green Bay, just because he grew up in Chico, California. He grew up a diehard 49ers fan. I know even the night of the draft when the 49ers took Alex Smith instead of Aaron Rodgers, I know that kind of lingered in his head for a while as far as that went, and then yeah, he'd obviously go on to have a legendary career in Green Bay. But yeah, the 49ers are that one team I'd worry about, where if they put together the right package, I could see Green Bay taking it, whatever it would be. Although, kind of how we talked about in the last episode, with that rumor that came out of that picture off somebody's desk of the Packers getting rid of Jordan Love and some draft picks to try to move up. I think if the Packers get rid of Jordan Love, I don't see them getting rid of Rodgers unless they would get Jimmy G, and fucking 3 or 4 players and a handful of draft picks. Like, if Seattle wouldn't take 3 first rounders and 2 all-star defensive players for Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers is a tier above Russell Wilson. So you got to come out with basically double that, 5 or 6 first round picks and 3 or 4 players. And then, like, obviously try to get a quarterback in return, because if they get rid of Jordan Love and then they get rid of Rodgers, you better be getting somebody who can step in and win games. Otherwise, Tim Boyle, as much as I like the guy, I don't see him taking over the helm and keeping Green Bay afloat.
No, the Wisconsin's fans, Packers fans would be so pissed if they resulted that to happen, where Love squeaks away and we don't have a quarterback that come and we get rid of Rodgers for, say, whoever that they're going to take, either Mac Jones or Justin Fields potentially. Yeah, I'd be shocked if it was true. But like you said, 49ers is the one place where I feel like if he did go there, he'd have a chance to win now. They kind of have the weapons on the wide receivers. They do have the D-core. Their defense is solid. They do have amazing running backs. So they have a great tight end in Kittle. Like, that could be a team where I could see him stepping right in there and winning a Super Bowl, like right away, like even this year. So hope to God that's not true. And if it is, Green Bay, you better be getting something in return that definitely isn't a loss.
Yeah. I agree. Kind of thinking back to 2 years ago when the 49ers were in the Super Bowl, you swap out Jimmy G for Aaron Rodgers, I think the 49ers are Super Bowl champions easily. With how close that game was, really down to the last couple minutes when the Chiefs went on a run and Mahomes had a great throw on 3rd and long to Tyreek Hill, and they kind of flipped the script on that game. I think you put Aaron Rodgers in there. I think the 49ers either punted or even turned over on like three or four of their last how many ever possessions. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers would have done that. Maybe one or two of them, but the other ones would have ended in points, which would have kept the 49ers ahead. So just kind of going off what you said, 49ers is definitely a place that I'd be upset if Rodgers left and went to, but if the things keep trending in Green Bay the way they are, San Francisco would be the place for him to go and get one or two more Super Bowls before he'd retire.
Oh yeah, easy. And I think Jimmy G only threw it like 7, 9, 10 times in the Super Bowl, and it was that close. Rodgers throws the ball 20 to 40 times a game, so that's, yeah, like you said, that's a completely different game. And then who knows how many more Super Bowls they would have after that, because that team would be very, very scary to play against.
Yeah.
And then last thing, sticking here with the pack, Rashan Gary is the Packers' chosen representative to head to Cleveland and announce the picks on the second day of the draft. So that's pretty cool for Gary to get chosen to go do that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a young guy. He's going to be in his third year after the Packers drafted him a couple years back out of Michigan. So yeah, obviously good for him to they obviously see a leadership role in him as being one of the young guys in that defensive squad. So yeah, it's cool to see. Sticking with the NFL here, kind of the biggest thing I kind of got out of today was the Panthers are open to shopping pick number 8. Supposedly they have been in talks with 4 or 5 other teams. Although they said it's unlikely that a trade with that pick would happen before draft night, especially with it being next week. So they said that basically it would depend on what happens on picks 1 through 7. Um, Basically, the top 3 or 4 picks are all a lock as far as who the players are. It's still slightly up in the air where as far as where the guys are going to land. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence at 1, but then you got Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, all kind of interchangeable 2 through 5. So, I as far as the Panthers go, I could see them shopping that pick so long as all the guys that are supposed to be taken 1 through 7 get taken. If any of them fall through the cracks, like Kyle Pitts, or even I don't know if they go after a quarterback if one of those quarterbacks fell to 8. But what do you kind of see with the Panthers, where their head is at with them potentially shopping this pick?
I think they're just going to sit and hold tight. If somebody that comes along is still available at that pick 8 that they definitely want to take and are going to, I feel like they're definitely going to take it, but they're definitely going to listen. I feel like you'd be stupid for any NFL team to not listen for any potential trade for anyone. Like, every single person is replaceable. It just depends, especially in a team sport. You need the guys around you to do that. So, Yeah, I could definitely see them sitting there and holding if they have a guy in the works that they're going to bring in. Otherwise, yeah, I feel like they're going to take the best offer that they get because 8's a pretty good pick.
Yeah, and I mean at 8, you're kind of, so long as everybody who gets picked 1 through 7 at the 8 spot, you're looking at like Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, maybe even Kyle Pitts. I don't see him falling out of the top 10, so 8 would be kind of a stretch for him to fall that far. Um, Other than that, I don't really know what the Panthers are looking at. It looks like they probably need more help on the defensive side, but there isn't really a defensive stud out of this draft that seems worth taking in the top 10. It's mostly all offensive guys, aside from Penei Sewell, the tackle out of Oregon. Um, Maybe they go after him at 8, but again, I don't even see him falling to 8. I see somebody snagging him before that, whether it's um, the Jets, the Bengals. One of those two teams could definitely use some help on that offensive line. But yeah, kind of going off what you said, I could see them staying put. But if the cards fall right, 8 is definitely a high value pick that I think the Panthers could get a lot for.
Yeah, absolutely. And then talking about staying put, New York Giants general manager came out and said it's an urban myth. If anybody's been talking about them moving in the draft, so they're going to be staying put. And then one more thing to touch on in the draft here. Roger Goodell has been given the okay to hug players on draft night after becoming fully vaccinated, according to the NFL. Along with the COVID vaccination, players and staffers who are fully vaccinated will no longer have to take the daily COVID tests. So, what do you kind of think this is saying here that the NFL is basically given full go if you got the shot? Like, how do you think? Like, if you were a player on draft night who is not vaccinated, do you think like what would you do? Like, would you hug the guy or?
I mean, it's a case by case kind of thing, and I think that the NFL is just trying to. Obviously, the money drives that organization, and we talked multiple times that the NFL is basically its own government. So I think the NFL basically by coming out and saying, "Oh, Goodell's fully vaccinated. He got the okay to hug guys on draft night." I think the NFL is just trying to paint this picture of COVID's going away and like everything's going good. That way they can kind of keep their season on track. They can have full stadiums come fall, stuff like that. Um, I mean, it's obviously a case by case basis. I don't know how that's going to go on draft night if like every player is going to hug or give him a handshake. Maybe some are, obviously everybody kind of has their own mindset as far as the whole COVID thing. So I think it'll be interesting to see come draft night of some guys who want to keep their space, some guys who are just like, I don't care. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where my head's at with that.
Yeah, and then I got a question for you talking about the draft night. The list came out of athletes who will be in the building. Trevor Lawrence already came out and said he's going to be at Clemson for that. Justin Fields is not going to be in Cleveland for the draft. Do you think that's a smart move? Like, would you do that if you were Justin Fields?
Yeah, I mean, just even besides Justin Fields, I like the trend of young athletes staying either in their college or in their hometown with family, with friends to celebrate. Because obviously, on draft night, you're sitting at a table with other people you're drafting with, and you maybe have like your parents or your girlfriend, wife, fiance sitting next to you. So it kind of takes out that celebration of being able to celebrate with your family and friends. Yes, you're on live TV. Yes, you get to go up and have your picture taken with Roger Goodell your name holding your last name on the back of whatever jersey you just got drafted to. But I like the trend of Fields, like you said, sounds like he's gonna be staying home. Trevor Lawrence staying home. A lot of these guys are now kind of staying home or just staying at their college and just kind of showing, hey, this is where my roots are. This is where I want to take my next step from.
Yeah, one thing too with the whole Fields thing, I think he's taking a shot. I feel like this is somewhat a shot at the media for how he's kind of been ran through the gauntlet and put through the shredder, and it seems like he was the only guy that was really ran through the gauntlet in like the upcoming draft, talking about people who are coming in. So I feel like this is somewhat a shot at the media also for basically saying, "Oh, you guys did this to me. Well, fuck you. I'm just gonna stay at home then."
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Kind of Trevor Lawrence, even with his whole, the media kind of throwing out of proportion his interview that he had a couple weeks back about not having a chip on his shoulder and saying, "I don't need the game of football. I like the game for what it is. I don't need football to exist." That kind of thing. So it's basically, I feel like the media and a lot of these reporters set up these young athletes to basically answer a question based on how the question is set up for them to answer. And it's nice to see these young guys kind of just write their own script and say, "Nah, I'm not going to stick with these agendas and say the things that these news outlets want me to say. I'm going to come out." And even for Trevor Lawrence, he came out and not only said it once or twice, but like 3 times in the past couple of weeks. He's holding his ground, just keeps backing up his words every time. So, like I said, it's great to see these young athletes kind of taking their initiative and writing their own stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said there.
Couple points on some signings here. Well, one of them's a signing, but the Cleveland Browns are going to be exercising Baker Mayfield's 5th-year option. So that ties him to Cleveland through the 2022 season. Kind of with the cap space hit this year and how it's going to jump up next year, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a really big contract and potentially be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL if he balls out again this next season. And then the other point I had on today was the Seahawks are re-signing Geno Smith, Russell Wilson's backup in Seattle. Haven't really seen a lot of Geno Smith. He's come in like a couple times in like preseason and stuff, and Russell Wilson's kind of like pretty much an Iron Man kind of guy. He doesn't really miss games a lot, if at all. So, I mean, always good to solidify a backup guy to have. So, like I said, Geno Smith hasn't really shown a lot, but what I have seen of him, even when he was in like New York, I think he got some time on the field there. So, yeah, always good to have a backup plan.
Yeah, definitely. Both of those are great moves. I feel like for both teams. Like you said, Mayfield's still young, still got the weapons there. Let's see what he can do. Hopefully, with OBJ there, full strength all season. And then they brought who was that to their Clowney? They brought him to their D line, so they're gonna be a team to fear out there. Sticking with that same division, Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback Justin Lane arrested facing felony gun charge over the weekend. Every single week we continue to find NFL players who continue to fuck up, so we continue to give them shout outs and hope everything with the justice system goes all well and fairly according to the situation. I didn't really read into anything further on that matter, just that he was arrested on over the weekend. So not looking good for Pittsburgh. Another thing I have here, the Chiefs are sending first-round pick along with a 3rd and 4th this year, with a 5th in the 2022 draft for Orlando Brown Jr., offensive tackle from the Ravens. They also get a 2nd-round pick and the 2026 round pick. So the Chiefs continuing to look at that Super Bowl tape, buffing up that line because Mahomes was running for his life the whole entire game. So it's good to see, that's one team who's built for the future and basically has their group of guys, and adding to that is good to see, good to see for the NFL, starting to see the Chiefs become a dynasty. You have anything on that point?
No.
Antonio Brown, his case is finally settled. No longer pending discipline from anything. Everything was settled there. Saw him back on Instagram yesterday for the first time. I saw him make a post. So it's good to see him smiling. Seems like he's back to his old self. Hopefully everything that he's got to experience over the course of this whole thing has really gotten him to see another side of life and of how to act and Tom Brady kind of taking him under his wing as well, being the guy that he is. I'm sure he's definitely shed some light on how to act. And yeah, good to see for AB. Now, hopefully he's going to re-sign there with Tampa now that everything's taken care of. And it's looking like he's going to stay down there and go for a few more Super Bowl runs. And then my last point here on the NFL for today, Bucs general manager, in an interview that was recorded, basically he came out and said players who are drafted in the 4th to 7th round probably are not going to have a spot on their team. That kind of thrown shade at the NFL for the teams who are building. They build teams through the draft, and like Packers are one of those teams that shot was kind of taken at. What do you think that basically shows to the NFL as like the Chiefs and the Bucks are these super teams who re-signed everybody and kind of saying, yeah, you got to be a first, second, third rounder to even basically have a shot at cracking the squad. Like, what do you think that shows the rest of the NFL? Like, what does that message say?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a punch in the mouth, and it's especially surprising coming from the Bucks organization when you have the greatest quarterback of all time was pick 199 himself. So to say, so just to have a guy who's literally leading your team come out of what round did he was 199?
I think that's
Sixth round. To basically come out and say, "Oh, you guys don't have a shot," it's like saying the future Tom Brady's that are out there aren't going to get a chance, at least on their team. Um, yeah, it's definitely throwing shade at the league and throwing shade at your also at your greatest of all time quarterback. So it's weird that they'd come out and say that, but I mean it makes to an extent it makes sense because like you said they brought back every single starter on both sides of the ball. So do they need to go out and get people? No. After the third round, um, probably even after the second round, you start to have a decline in like value of these players, and as far as them coming out of the draft and stepping onto the field and producing immediately. So I can kind of see from that respect, but yeah, kind of what I initially said. It is kind of a punch in the mouth to the league and to Tom Brady.
Yeah, absolutely. And this also kind of says that Tampa's just going to kind of keep everybody around who's super good and go get a quarterback when they're in trouble with their team, like they did with Tom Brady. You know, I can see them even targeting Rodgers, you know, after this season. If everything's not going well and Brady ends up stepping away, I could see them going to get Rodgers to keep their dynasty that they had that they built basically in 1 year to the super team that they have. They'd be a Super Bowl contender, you know, with Rodgers. And then when Rodgers steps away and Mahomes and the Chiefs contract comes in, like who says they don't try to get Mahomes down there? You know, the GM seems like he's has his mind made up on how he's going to run the organization. Seemed to work early for him. So we'll see how this pans out to go in the future for the Buccaneers.
For sure. Is that it for the NFL?
Yeah, that's all I got for the NFL today.
All right. Switching gears here over to the NBA, as the postseason approaches. One thing that we've been kind of following the past couple days, or at least past couple weeks, is Steph Curry's historic run. Unfortunately, last night his cold streak ends a cold night ends his hot 11-game streak of 30 points or more. Curry would go on to finish with 18 points, so he wasn't really even close to that 30-point mark. And he'd end up going 2 for 14 from 3-point range. So hard to see him struggle. I think 2 for 14 was his season low for the year on 3-pointers made in a game and 3-point percentage in a game. So, which is kind of crazy to see that stat because he's one of the few, if not the only guy in the league to have that green light where to go 2 for 14, after like maybe going 2 for 7, 2 for 8, I think your coach pulls you aside and says, "Hey, stop shooting threes for this game. It's not there for you this game." So the fact that Steve Kerr just kept the green light on and let him keep going and going and going to the tune of 2 shots for 14 from beyond the arc, it's obviously a lot of respect for him to be able to go out whether he's hot or not, and shoot that many threes in a game. But yeah, it sucks to see that streak end for him. But it was bound to end eventually. Hopefully, he kind of gets his confidence back before the postseason, and they can continue to make a run.
Yeah, he's a shooter. I don't think this shakes him at all. Uh, he knows some nights you got it, some nights you don't. That's with every sport. Some nights you show up to the arena and you're feeling a little bit better than other nights, or something you ate kind of is messing you up. You feel a little slow, a little tired. With his kids, keeping them up during the night, stuff like that. You never know what was the reason. Maybe his shoe was tied a little too tight. That's all it takes for something to throw you off. As stupid as that sounds, being an athlete, when you have those great performances, you're kind of doing everything the same. And like I said, all it takes is one minute, tiny little change to throw everything off in the mix. So maybe they put ice in his drink when he didn't want it. All that stuff could potentially be a thing. But yeah, sad to see that streak come to an end. And hopefully he can. I know with that run, he did put himself into that MVP conversation. So if he can heat back up and go on another little run for the end of the season, I definitely think he probably will be taking the MVP home.
Kind of sticking with that, before we went live today, I was listening to Skip and Shannon talk about this topic of Steph Curry kind of creeping up on the MVP conversation. Then after last night, Skip just basically came straight out and said, I think that just as quickly as he came into the MVP conversation, that game last night took him out of it. Do you think that that's kind of a dramatic take on that, or do you think that at this point Steph Curry would have had to stay on that historic run to keep that MVP talk in his court, or do you think that just a one game setback is fine so long as he bounces back and maybe goes on another 30+ point run?
I don't think that was too dramatic to say from Skip. He is kind of he's a realistic critic. He's just basically takes the stats for what they are and his eyes, what they tell him. And nobody can, you can't really judge somebody what they think about a certain topic. So I'm not going to judge him too hard. I don't think that was too harsh for him to say. But I do say after that game, he did probably drop from first to third in that MVP conversation. Embiid and Jokic are tearing it up, and they're continuing to do so. So it's going to take, like I said, I feel like it's going to take another streak like this of incredible performances to put him back potentially at the top of that conversation. But yeah, as of right now, I feel like that dropped him to that third spot, and that's probably where he's going to end up in the voting unless we see another crazy run from him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to take, if you can end the season on like another 5+ game run of 30 points or more to just show, hey, I just had one off night, I'm still hot. I think that could potentially bump him back up to the top of the MVP race. But yeah, if he comes out flat or can't or doesn't put the team on his back in the next two games, yeah, I think he's going to kind of stay put in that third, fourth spot of the MVP race.
Yeah, especially after losing Murray and the Nuggets run a 4-game heater, so
yeah. Also with the NBA here, Trae Young diagnosed with a left ankle sprain after being carried off Wednesday night. I was watching some of that game when that happened, so it's right away when you saw him go down, it was just like, that, like, I thought it was a knee injury when I first saw it, but it ended up coming out as an ankle sprain, which kind of the same thing LeBron James is going through. Sometimes a clean break is better than a sprain because that sprain just stays inflamed and doesn't really heal up until the off season when you put your legs up and don't do anything for a couple weeks or a couple months to let it heal fully. So um, he will be out for at least the next two games and then reevaluated after that. So hopefully he can get back on the court soon because the Hawks are sitting in that number 4 spot in the East, so they're definitely right in the hunt, right behind Milwaukee. I don't really see them making any moves up, especially with Trae Young going out. Hopefully they can hang on to that 4 spot and not fall past 6 to where they'd have to be in the play-in tournament. But yeah, the Hawks have looked good this season, and obviously they need Trae Young to be out there to kind of keep them in that playoff hunt.
Yeah, and then also speaking of injuries, Anthony Davis made his return last night for the Lakers. They ended up losing, but he did post game say it was great to get back out there and be able to play to like 100%. He wasn't worried about his injury at all. You know, he took the time that he needed to get to 100%. So it's good to see him back and get with that team, you know, to potentially make another run to go win another title. They're in the 5th spot right now on a 2-game losing streak. They do have a 2.5 game cushion on the Trailblazers, who are in that 6th spot. So I feel like they've nestled into that 5th spot, and that's where they're kind of going to stay. You know, LeBron's still on his rehab from his injury or rest time, whatever you want to call it. He's getting back to full strength to, you know, he's deep in his career. He's played the most minutes out of any NBA players ever played. So it's, you kind of got to rest when you're getting old, you know, to go out there and battle through the playoffs, especially with the teams that are on the other side and even in their own division that they're going to have to face, which leads me to my next point. The Phoenix Suns, I've actually watched a few of their games recently, and they are incredible. They're my team. They're my pick to win the NBA Finals. Incredible.
Yeah, they definitely they either, at least the last like month or two, every night they either look great or they look good. It doesn't really look like the Suns really have had a bad game. Again, behind D Book, DeAndre Ayton, and then of course the guy who's kind of also put his name in the MVP conversation, Chris Paul. Those 3 guys have just balled out for them night after night. So yeah, it'd be nice to see the Suns kind of bounce back. I know they've been kind of an irrelevant team for the past 5-10 years, and talked about them with their bubble run last year of going undefeated in the bubble and just barely missed out on the playoffs. So it's great to see them pick right back up where they left off last year. And yeah, it'd be cool to see them make a deep playoff run and kind of shake things up in the West.
Yeah, absolutely. I just have 2 more points here. Zion dropped his shoe, the Zion 1. It was only available in black, I believe, and then the other colors that are coming out, I believe, has specific dates for their releases depending on the colors. So shout out to Zion. It's a pretty huge moment for being that young and already having a shoe deal, and him taking off how everybody expected that he would. You know, he kind of got off to a slow start with them resting him on his minutes and getting his weight down and basically retraining him how to run and walk the proper way. So it's great to see his career taking off how it is. And then on the flip side of that, someone who's taking a downfall, Kevin Porter Jr. for the Rockets. NBA violation. He violated the health and safety protocol with his strip club visit with one of his teammates. They ended up getting into a scruffle. One of the teammates was actually taken to the hospital because it looks like he got his ass beat pretty bad. Team came out and said that they will not be playing in the next game. That is all they said at this point. I don't know if it's going to be any longer than that, but yeah, what a joke going to a strip club, getting into a fight and getting your ass kicked. Like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, especially, I mean, obviously guys are human, but you understand as a professional athlete living still in this COVID phase that you have certain regulations you need to meet and certain rules you have to follow. I guess at least just next time you got the money, just discreetly send a girl to your room or something. I don't know.
Well, you're 15-44 too. Your season's, you've been eliminated a long time ago from the playoffs. So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
this is a kind of I want out of town type of deal.
Yeah, but then at the same time, that gives you a bad reputation that if you want to continue your career, who kind of wants that drama, who wants to take on that headache of a player where they got a little bit of baggage to them. But
Well, he could strictly say this bubble shit has been killing him, and he had a mental lapse and went out to the club.
yeah, that's very true as well. Yeah, I have one more point on the NBA as well. Kind of switching to our Milwaukee Bucks. Last night, Bucks look great. Giannis puts up 27 in a 124-117 win over the 76ers. So great for them to see the team that's ahead of them In the East, I think actually the Nets and the Sixers are both tied with a 2-game lead over the Bucks. So I know we both kind of said that it'd be nice to see the Bucks stay at that 3 spot, but the Bucks are kind of getting hot right now. You can't they if they keep winning games, they might move up, especially with the Nets and 76ers tied. There could be a 3-way tie. It could be decided by less than a game between those 3 teams. I hope they stay put, just because, like we said, over the past couple of years of being the 1 seed, it hasn't worked out for them. But if they can stay hot and stay at a 2 or 3 seed, good for them, and be nice to see them make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I hope they do stay where they're at. I hope they don't move any higher. I don't want them to peak a little bit too early. There is still a little bit left in the season, so yeah. No matter where they finish, and I root for the Bucks. So it'd be nice for the state of Wisconsin to see them go on a run.
For sure.
And then I do have a piece of sad news here. Terrence Clark, young freshman from Kentucky, died in a car accident over the weekend in Los Angeles. John Calipari is flying out to Los Angeles to be with his family and to attend to some of the family's needs and things that they are going through right now. A statement: he was a great basketball player. He had a bright future and was going to basically go to the NBA. He was a great basketball player, great person. He'd light up the room. So sad to see that he was lost over the weekend. It's always sad when you see a young athlete or a young person, no matter who you are, when your life is taken from you too soon. So that's very sad to see. And I hope thoughts and prayers are out to his family.
Yeah. It was just earlier this week. There's I can't remember who else it was. It was a guy in his 20s too that passed away. It was out of USC. They never said what the cause of death was, but yeah, sucks to see this kind of stuff happen. Kind of moving on here, switching over to some MLB talk. Thursday night, the D-backs and the Reds scoreboard looked like a football game. The D-backs beat the Reds 14-11 in 10 innings. So 25 runs in a game. I would have loved to be at that game. I know a couple baseball games I've been to. I know, what was it, last summer we went to one. Brewers won it, but it was a low-scoring game. So I always love to see those high offensive games. Last night, the Padres hold off the Dodgers 3-2 in their first game of their second matchup. Sticking with the Dodgers, Cody Bellinger is still up in the air on a return after a hairline fracture in his left leg. He was hit by a ball on first base on April 5th. So be nice to see him get back soon. Switching over to the Brewers here, the Brewers manager, Craig Counsell, says Yelich is going to be lifted off IR tomorrow, but unfortunately he won't be suited up to play. Counsell said he's just going to be in the batting cage getting some work done. And then also at the Brewers, they're underway this afternoon against the Cubs in the 2 teams' third matchup of the season. Last I checked, the Brewers were down 10-0 after 2 innings. So that'll just kind of paint a picture of how that game's going today. 2-11 now, top of the 6th. So Brewers at least put a couple runs on the board, but yeah, they got a ways to go. And then the last point of MLB news, some great news to see here. Baltimore Orioles announced that Adrienne Robertson is the first woman MLB PA announcer. So she joins a couple other teams as far as having women in the announcer booth, her being the first PA announcer. So great to see the MLB kind of stepping up as well with their side of things as far as including women in either coaching or announcing, things like that within the organization.
Yeah, shout out to the MLB and shout out to the Orioles. It's awesome.
So what do you got for some hockey talk today?
So for some hockey talk, as things are nearing the end of the season here, things are heating up. These battles are becoming really intense. The Vegas Golden Knights are on an 8-game winning streak right now. They are the best looking team right now in the NHL. That I can say that I've watched over the past week. Just watching them play, it seems like they're clicking right now. They got everything in full swing. They're going to be a beast heading into the playoffs, as well. Sticking in the same division there, you have the Avalanche, who are on a 5-game winning streak. They're looking really good, and as well as the Minnesota Wild. Spence, your team might actually do something this year. Yeah, those three teams right now are just, they're on hot streaks. They look incredible. It's great to see, teams who haven't really won Stanley Cup. Vegas, with their first year, they made it to the finals. They haven't won one yet. The Avalanche, it's been a long time. The Minnesota Wild, they have never made it to the Stanley Cup finals. So it'd be neat to see one of those three teams, win a Stanley Cup, especially with this type of season. It's been a grind all season long, and they've been playing each other too. And those three teams are looking really good right now. So that's good to see for them. Moving over to the East Division, the Boston Bruins are on a 6-game winning streak. Ever since the trade deadline, the moves that they made, the guys that they brought in, especially Taylor Hall, he's been lighting it up ever since he's made his appearance in Boston. Sucks for my Flyers that these teams that are right ahead of them are keep winning, but the Rangers, who they end up playing tonight, they dropped 2 straight, so hopefully Philly can jump on them and make it 3 straight for them. My Flyers did win yesterday to keep their playoff hopes alive. They got to win again tonight to move even 2 points closer. I want to say one more loss by them and a couple more wins by Boston is pretty much gonna do the deed for them. So yeah, that's kind of what I got in the East. Some other big news: the Calgary Flames have had a positive COVID test come up recently for them today. They are in a battle for that 4th final spot over there in the North. Their organization has came out and said that they plan to play on. The dude's just gonna go into his protocol. Dudes are gonna continue to battle and hope that they don't hit that 3 limit mark, which is gonna cause the whole team to go into protocol effect. So yeah, that's kind of all I got right now. Pittsburgh's hot. Capitals, they wanted a shootout to stay atop the East over the Islanders. That's been a great matchup to see all season long. Vrana, who the Caps let go over to the Wings, he had 4 goals last night. So shout out to him for lighting it up over there in Detroit. They've been doing pretty good ever since they kind of, sold the farm over there to rebuild. Chicago Blackhawks, Dallas Stars, right on the edge of that 4th spot, chasing down Nashville. And yeah, the only 2 teams that have clinched so far is Vegas and Colorado Avalanche. So it's going to be interesting to really see what's going to shake out here over the next, week, as pretty much everything's going to. Oh, breaking news. Calgary Flames have canceled their skate due to the COVID-19 protocol. So things are not looking good for them now as they're chasing the playoffs and they're entering COVID-19 protocols. Not looking really good for them right now. So I did have a few questions for you, Collin, here regarding the NHL. I know earlier we had talked about Austin Matthews potentially hitting that 40 goal mark. And if you still think he's going to hit that, he's sitting at 34 right now. Do you still think he's going to hit that 40 goals?
How many games are left for them?
For Toronto, there is they have 5 games left. He needs 6 goals.
That's a tall task. I mean, the Leafs have been looking really good. I pulled up kind of the one thing I've been following is the Stanley Cup odds. The Avalanche sit currently at the favorites at plus 375, and the Leafs sit at plus 800. The 4th best odds to win. So, as of like a week ago, the Leafs were at 2, so they dropped a little bit, and kind of a week ago talking about this, it seemed like a realistic or an easy task. Well, not easy, but an attainable task for Matthews to go out and break 40. I don't see him. I don't see him breaking 40. Having to get 6 goals in 5 games. He's basically got to get a goal a game and get 2 goals in 1, or try to get a hat trick in one and take a little bit of relief off of one in another game. Yeah, seems like he's gotten a little cold here towards the end of the year. The Leafs as a whole, Campbell still looks good in the net, but their offense seems like it's slowed down a little bit. So I'm going to say Matthews isn't going to break that 40 mark.
Okay. My second question for you here. You did pick correctly. You had McDavid and Draisaitl. I asked you earlier in the season if the tandem was going to break 150. As of right now, they're sitting at 141 points. They still have 7 games to play, so they're going to break that no problem.
Oh, yeah.
So congratulations for you to pick that. And then I forgot what my third question was that I asked you a while ago, but I do have a new interesting one here for you. We have Connor McDavid, who's in first place in the point total. Do you think himself can hit 90 points in this 52 game season? He's currently sitting at 77. So he would need 13 points in the remaining 7 games that they got.
That's tough. I think it's going to be super close. I could see him. I'm going to say he gets at least to 88. Gosh, I don't know. It's attainable easily, but he's basically got to finish out the season doing what he's done every night. So, I mean, I'm not going to count him out. I'll say he hits 90. Basically getting at least an assist and a goal every game, or a couple assists every game. That point total is going to rack up for him. Just kind of looking at how he's played all season, it'd be amazing to see him hit 90.
And then my last question for you, Alex Ovechkin, currently sitting with 24 goals. They have 5 games left to play. Do you think he's going to reach the 30 goal mark through the end of, obviously they're going to make the playoffs. Do you think that he can surpass that 30 goal mark? Getting 6 goals. Or maybe even getting 40, dude. In the playoffs, it seems like is when he really takes off and scores.
So you're saying 30 through the playoffs?
Yeah, 30 through 6 goals through the end of the playoffs.
I could see that easily. I don't see him hitting 30 before the playoffs start. I could see him getting another 2 or 3 goals before the regular season ends. But yeah, good to see him hit that 30 goal mark again. One of those historical guys to still be in the NHL at his age and night after night coming out and doing what he does. I guess it'll kind of depend on how they look in the first round. Obviously, if they don't make it out of the first round, I don't think he hits that 40-point mark. But if they do make it out of the first round, I think that they're going to need Ovechkin's leadership and his production to get them out of the first round and obviously through the playoffs. So if they make it out of the first round, I'll say he hits 40. If they don't, I still think he can hit that 30 mark.
And then with him hitting that 30 mark, I just want to double check here and see. So he's currently 1 goal away from moving into the 5th spot, passing Marcel Dion to put him at 731. So, and he's 11 behind Brett Hull to move into the 4th spot. And Brett Hull is the only American in the top 20. The next closest you got is Mike Badano at 26. Keith Tkachuk, you have him. He's 33rd. Jeremy Roenick, who's another all-star, 40th. But yeah, he's closing in, man. Every game, I always check the stats the first thing in the morning. If I don't have the chance to watch the game or catch up at nighttime, I always check in to see how old he does, because it'd be really sweet to see him break Wayne's record. He's got 164 to go. So
yeah, it seems like every week after a game, there's like some kind of statistic where Ovechkin passes this guy or takes the lead as the lone guy to do this or that. So, yeah, like you said, it'd be great to see him go catch Gretzky. 164 sounds like a lot, but doesn't seem like Ovechkin's slowing down. And it'll be interesting to see too this offseason. There's been talks of the Capitals re-signing him to an extension because this is the end of his contract there. I don't see him going anywhere else. I don't see the Capitals letting him walk or go anywhere else for that matter. So long as they can tie him for at least 3 to 5 more seasons, I think that he's got a chance to go catch Gretzky.
Yeah, I think he's going to need about five seasons to do it. Especially with this being a shortened season and he's got 26 or 24. I mean, shortened season, he's got 24. So say they have a full season, he's probably got about 35 right now. So that's 11 more. So he would be in that 4th spot right now with 141 potentially if they did have the full season. So the shortened season and last season, with the whole bubble kind of screwed that a little bit for him as he's, time never stops. You're always getting older. So all these shortened seasons and all this protocol and stuff definitely is going to wear on an older guy. But yeah, Capitals definitely, I don't see them letting him walk, especially as they built that team basically around him with how they move the puck so well. And him, I literally wonder how many goals he scored from that same spot on the hash, on the top of the circle or the hash on the far side. I wonder how many goals he's literally scored from that spot, because it seems like time and time again, everybody knows it's coming and he still finds a way to put it in the net. So yeah, I'm really pushing for him to hopefully get that done. And yeah, that's all I got for the NHL talk today.
All right, just one final point here before we wrap things up today. The UFC preps for 15,000 fans as Jacksonville hosts UFC 261. Usman versus Masvidal is going to be the main card fight. Going to be a great fight to watch. Usman has, I think, only one loss on his record, so he's on a hot streak. And Masvidal is just a raw dude that's taken out a lot of big names to kind of get to the point he's at as well. So it's going to be a great fight for UFC kind of getting back to full strength in front of potentially 15,000 people. So yeah, we'll break down that fight along with all the main cards on Monday.
Yeah, can't wait to watch those this weekend. That should be interesting bouts to see.
So yeah, that's all I had for today. If you had any other points to throw in before we wrap things up.
No, that's kind of all I got here. Yet again, I hope everybody, thanks for coming in here and watching the show. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to our channels. And yeah, I hope everybody makes it a great weekend. The weather, hopefully, around the country is good where you're at. And yeah, we will see you guys on Monday.
See you Monday.